This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch.
Boys, I'm tired.
I wonder why.
I'm exhausted. If I don't have to be on a plane again for a while, I'm going to be a happy person. I've been on a plane more in the last month and a half than I have in like 10 years combined.
Yeah, I'm about to do that in 2 weeks. Well, you were in first class for half of it. I don't want to hear that.
That was a nice little upgrade. The last minute cheap options to do that. Trust me, I wouldn't have done it if it was expensive. I did not pay full price. I'm not made of money over here, but that was a very nice upgrade. It was a nice surprise my dad with that. We got to travel together to Oklahoma for the Michigan-Oklahoma game. If you're watching on YouTube, you're wondering why I'm wearing a Michigan hat and an Oklahoma Sooners shirt, because obviously Michigan lost that one. And the bet with my cousin is I had to wear the shirt on the show. I don't like it. He didn't say I couldn't wear the hat, though, so at least I can balance it out. But yeah, I got to travel with my dad down there, go to the game. Absolute blast, even with the loss. What an environment, what a place to watch college football is Oklahoma University, man. That stadium's cool. The fan base, amazing people, so nice. Like, you hear Southern hospitality, it was real there. It was very real. So,
bro, that ain't
cool
the
place.
South. That's the Midwest or the West, whatever you want to call it.
It's South, bro.
Oklahoma, that's the middle of the country.
Just because Texas is so big is the only reason it's the middle of the country. I consider it South. It's way south of here. And it's definitely not Midwest because it is more flat than anything in the Midwest. I'm going to tell you that right now. I know Iowa's pretty flat. Dude, Oklahoma, you're sitting in the stadium. If you're high enough up, you can see downtown. You're at the airport. Look, you can see downtown. You're in the neighboring city. You can see downtown Oklahoma City because everything's flat.
Did the wagon tip?
The wagon didn't tip. And yes, I brought it up while I was down there. At least twice. But yeah, cool place, awesome time. Wish Michigan played better. Disappointing football weekend for Michigan overall, honestly. Why? MSU barely beat Boston College, bro. That's disappointing right there. Don't get too excited. They barely beat them.
I'm just saying,
they should have smoked
lost
them.
Right, we got to look at the positives in the over the weekend. We did have one team win.
They won, but I wouldn't be positive about a double overtime win against Boston College.
Win's a win.
And now they get to play at 11 p.m. Eastern time this coming weekend.
That's
rough for Sparty fans right there. But yeah, Lions lost, Michigan lost, all because play calling was trash.
Aaron Glenn lost too with the Jets.
Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson lost. Suck it, Bears fans.
So
it was the shining spark for Michigan fans is J.J. McCarthy balling out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that was about the only thing.
I heard he did well because Connor Stalions was on the sideline for that third quarter.
Oh my God. All right. Enough of you and enough football. This is not a football podcast. This is a hockey podcast. It's the Hockeytown West podcast. Welcome back, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis.
Today we have a special episode. We got some Griffins news updates because there's been a few changes since the last time we talked to Griffins. And yes, this is a Griffins episode with a Griffins interview with an absolute legend in this organization. The voice of the Griffins, Bob Kaser, will be joining the show and chatting with us. And it is a blast of an interview. It's so many angles to talk with him over the 40 plus seasons he's worked in hockey. So we tried to fit in as much as we could. And if we didn't get it all in and there's stuff that we missed, let us know and we'll get him back on here hopefully another time. But he was fun to talk to, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I learned a lot through just talking with him because I've seen him we were at every home game. So we saw him at every home game, but I didn't really get a chance to talk with him throughout the season. So it was good to be able to get some one-on-one time. Well, I guess you guys were here too, to get some time with him off the ice and kind of see how he started and where he, how he got here. So that was good.
Yeah, how he got his first broadcasting job is a wild story. So stay tuned for that. Before we jump into it, Griffins news and updates. The first one we'll talk about is Brogan Rafferty officially signed over in Sweden. He's heading to the SHL. I think there was a lot of question marks if he was coming back to GR or not on a Griffins deal. That answers the question. He's gone. The journeyman for Detroit, the guy that made that trip over there countless times in a car, he's gone.
Yeah,
allegedly.
That plane ticket's going to be super expensive to get back to Detroit every other weekend.
Could you imagine?
I don't think there's no, I-95?
Yeah, no I-95 there. So I-95 RAF. Thanks for the memories, man. Sucks to lose you, but have fun in Sweden. And that's a good, tough league he's going to go play in. So it should be interesting to see how he performs over there. We'll keep an eye on him throughout the season and give updates when we can. Other news, though, Griffins video coach is on this move to Detroit. He got promoted. Eric Youngie on his way to Detroit to be the assistant video coordinator up there, which is a really cool promotion. You love seeing the internal promotions happen within the organization like that.
Yeah, definitely. And like Steve alluded to it during the offseason, before the offseason started, I guess offseason, that they're going to be looking internally for, moving people up. And I saw Eric's post on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, what's going on here? And, then today the news breaks. I was like, oh, okay, now the pieces make sense. Happy for him. We got a new face now, so it'll be interesting to see, the improvements on it. One in Detroit, and then also here in GR. So
yeah, it's cool to see. He's done a good job in Grand Rapids. Obviously the video coaches don't get talked about too much. You really can't see what they're doing up there, but being able to be up where we are for games, you can kind of see him operate and how he looks at things. And chatted with him a couple of times, and he knew his stuff. So I think he'll do pretty well in Detroit, and they'll be happy to have him.
Well, and another thing too is think about how important your video coaches are now with being able to challenge at the NHL level. And they're if you're going to challenge something, you better be right. So it's a huge element that, he's getting a promotion to go up and be a part of that staff with Detroit's video staff. So just a thing too with those are important jobs in hockey now. You're very important when you're challenging plays. That's all coming from your video coaches. So, just a very interesting piece.
Yeah, and the other angle to look at it too is he's been studying video of a lot of these prospects. So you're going to see, obviously, some of them have moved on, and some more are going to be coming that he's been studying the video for a while. So he's going to kind of know what to look for already with some of these kids. And I think that's another helpful angle there that helps his case to be in Detroit. Congrats to him, and we welcome a new face, Brad Karkowitz. I'm going to butcher that. We'll have to figure that out the first time we meet him. Sorry, Brad. He was the assistant video coach with the Tucson Roadrunners last season, or past couple seasons, and gets to join the Griffin staff. That's about all we know about him, but excited to see a new face in Grand Rapids and wish him the best of luck here. It's going to be a fun one.
Hopefully he has a winter coat or is going to invest in one, because Tucson, Arizona to here, big difference.
Yeah.
Maybe we get him a new Hockeytown West hoodie.
Yeah, there you go. Tease that stuff there, why don't you? Yeah, no, it's cool. It'll be interesting to meet him. It'll be a fun time. But that's all the news and updates we have, besides the fact that the ice is going in this week, which is nice to see way earlier than last year. Remember, we were kind of going into about a week or two into the season, or before the season was going to start, and there was no ice in Grand Rapids yet. And from the fan view, the ice didn't look great all season long. So maybe getting it in a little earlier, it'll be a little nicer this year.
Well, they kind of had to. The red-white game is coming up. So they kind of pushes the deadline up a little bit more for them. So hopefully it's looking good. They haven't teased the center logo yet. I'm sure it's going to be the 30th.
You can see a piece of it in the hand still with their last picture, but that's about it. From the angle they posted, it looks like the same 30-year logo that they use for their Twitter logo and everything else they've shared. It looks just like that on ice, but either way, it looks like it's going to look nice on there. Oh, yeah. And you're right, the red and white game is around the corner too. And if you haven't got tickets yet, make sure you head and check that out. What's that? September 21st, 3 p.m. You're going to see Patrick Kane skating on Van Andel ice. That's words I never thought I'd say in my life.
I did. I thought he was going to come here for conditioning, remember? Everybody laughed at me.
You did think that, and we did laugh at you for probably good reason. There's always a good reason to laugh at Nick, honestly.
Here he is.
That's going to be a fun one, and we'll be there for that. Excited to see that game. Honestly, just ready for hockey to be back. It's getting closer and closer and closer. But we're also close to our interview now with Bob Kaser. So we're going to toss it over to him. Quick ad break first, and when we come back from that, Bob Kaser. And when we come back after that, we got to talk about the Griffins promo schedule, because that came out as well.
Game on. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This isn't just football. It's first touchdown fireworks, anytime touchdown rushes, and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. Currently, we're going to be rooting for the Detroit Lions this year, and Jahmyr Gibbs has a plus 600 for first touchdown scorer. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expires 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additionally, NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, everyone. Joining us today is a voice hockey fans in West Michigan and beyond know all too well. He's personally been behind the microphone for well over 3,000 hockey games, including radio and TV for the Detroit Red Wings, and has worked in hockey for over 40 years. Him and his broadcast partners have received 11 Broadcast Excellent Awards from the Michigan Association of Broadcasting, plus 3 AP honors for outstanding hockey play-by-play. He's also earned the James H. Ellery Award as the AHL Broadcaster of the Year in 2010. In 2021, he was inducted in the Grand Rapids Sports Hall of Fame. And on top of all of that, his work in the West Michigan communities has raised nearly $8 million for local charities. Please welcome to the show the voice of the Grand Rapids Griffins, Bob Kaser. Bob, welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your offseason to do this with us.
Thanks to you guys, and I appreciate the intro. My goodness.
I think that's the longest one we've
sound
had.
like I've done some things in my life.
I think you have, based on, I had to do a lot of research because we wanted to be able to throw some things at you that we want that might not get brought up often. And then of course the obvious stuff that we'll talk about too. So I learned a lot more about you, even in the research and stuff I didn't even know. How's the off season been treating you?
Good. It's, as I mentioned to you guys, sitting outside, I'm just kind of getting in that hockey mode right now. It's time to start looking ahead here. We're creeping up on September in training camp and the red and white game, and of course our season October 9th or 10th, I think it is. Yeah, so it's I love this weather. Love being outdoors when it's feeling like it's the fall is starting to creep up on us here. So, and then joining you guys is just great. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you guys.
Oh, we appreciate you for doing it. And how excited are you to have the red and white game back at Van Andel?
Yeah, it's been a long time. As you guys know, it's, it was such a popular event back in the day. And, you look back and I think we would all agree that, in part the popularity was due to the future Hall of Famers that the Red Wings had. I mean, my goodness. I remember going to training camp in Traverse City and seeing that sea of red and white jerseys outside the building up there, and Red Wing fans with, jerseys and names with Yzerman and Shanahan and Chelios and Osgood and the list just Lidstrom, and the list just goes on and on. Datsuk, my gosh, I mean, they're just incredible. You almost forget how loaded and stacked they were with all those great players and like I say, future Hall of Famers. And they don't have quite that list now, but there are still some pretty big names, some marquee guys like Kane and DeBrincat and obviously Larkin and not Chris Chelios, but Mort Sider. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. I mean, it's going to be great to have, those big names in Grand Rapids and, and relive the great days of, sellout crowds and locally televised games for a scrimmage game, like just amazing, the power of the Red Wing and that winged wheel. And we're going to see it again for the first time in a long time. And we're really fired up about it.
Yeah, if you would have told me a few years ago Patrick Kane would be skating on the ice at Van Andel, I wouldn't have believed you. It's a really cool thing to see. But I want to go over to you here and kind of go back in time. I've read 9 years ago, or not 9 years ago, my bad, when you were about 9 or 10 years old, down in Jacksonville with the Jacksonville Rockets. That's where you fell in love with the game of hockey. What made you fall in love with the game?
Well, it was even before that when I went to a game on Halloween night with my dad, and they had a bench clearing brawl. I was hooked. Back in the good old days of fighting, and I to this day I still miss that part of it. I mean, you don't want it to be too extreme, but it was just a special night. And I even before that night, I used to listen to Bob Chase. I don't know if you guys remember Bob Chase. He was the longtime voice of the Fort Wayne Comets. Radio rinkside on WoWo, which you could pick up the games in Jacksonville from Fort Wayne. And, his style of broadcasting just got me thinking, man, just sounds like a great sport. And back then, the days hockey in the South was almost non-existent. So when I got to go to a game and leave the hot air of Jacksonville, Florida, go inside a cool rink and watch this amazing sport being played out in front of me, and then, dropping the gloves and a little bit of blood here. And man, I still remember the drive home with my dad when I was 9 or 10 years old, and I just couldn't stop talking about it. In fact, I got all the kids in our neighborhood. We were playing roller hockey within a month, and, parents of all of us are looking outside, seeing these kids playing this sport of hockey in the street in Jacksonville, Florida. They were like, what the heck is going on out there? And, now obviously hockey is huge all over the place, including the state of Florida and Texas and Louisiana and everywhere else. But back then, it was a new thing, and I'd like to think maybe I kind of led the way for, the popularity of Florida hockey in the state of Florida. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm responsible for the Lightning and the Panthers.
So you truly got to live the saying of you went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
There you have it. I'm telling you guys, it was just right up until the mid '80s, maybe late '80s. It was still a huge part of the game. The intimidation factor was played a role in teams and their domination at home. There were certain buildings where, not just the backdrop of the arena, but the teams that you would play against in some of those arenas were, I think of the Spectrum in Philadelphia at the NHL level, the Broad Street Bullies. I talked to friends of mine that played in the National Hockey League at that time, and they would tell you it was a scary place to go in and play. That intimidation factor is almost gone from the game anymore, and I kind of miss that part of it. But the game is, no matter how they played, it's, as you guys know, it's as good a game as there is, and it certainly is that now. The speed of it is amazing, and bring back some fights. I wouldn't. And the thing is, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but the loudest cheer of the night, oftentimes, no matter where you're playing, is when a fight breaks out. So, there's still a lot of fans that demand that sort of thing too. So, but anyway, either way, it's a great game, and we'll always have fond memories for me and any of us old timers who've been around and watched the evolution of the game from what it was like 50 years ago to what it's like now.
So did I hear you right? You skipped Halloween as a kid to go to a hockey game.
Oh no, we still got trick or treating in. Okay. I remember walking down one street and there was a full moon. It's that whole day just stands out to me, and capped off by this sport that I had never seen, never been exposed to, and that day was literally changed my life. And how many years later now, 50 some odd years later, not to date myself, but my goodness, what a life it's been. I've been very fortunate.
It's funny that's how your love of the game started, because that was exactly my start as well. I grew up in the Flint area, and back then it was full line brawls. Everybody had a face-off circle to box in. And, we did a little bit of research on you. And one of the stories is that you would take a tape recorder in to the Generals games and then tape your own broadcast for fun.
Yeah, we good friend of mine, Tom Schlinker, and I. Tom Schlinker, Flint. We were Flint boys, and both loved hockey. And we'd travel to Port Huron or Saginaw and and back then it was tough to find an empty area in the arena because the teams all did really well, including Flint. The old IMA Sports Arena was pretty much jammed every night, 4,395 fans, and the rivalries were something to behold. And yeah, we'd find an open spot and do the games into a tape recorder, and somehow Wally Shaver, the voice of the Flint Generals, they were looking for a color analyst and a PR guy, assistant PR guy, and I gave them the tape, and for whatever reason, they liked it, and they liked me enough to hire me. And 40, as you said, 40 some odd years, Brandon, later, it's been a heck of a run, that's for sure.
That's so cool, though. Just to be doing your own broadcast at the game, and that lands you that job. That's such a different story. You don't hear him go like that.
Got a lot of strange looks from people, though, like sitting there with a tape recorder and broadcasting the game and getting excited about it into a tape recorder is kind of weird when you think about it. But
hey, look at you now.
Paid off.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Brandon his first year doing all the clips from the stadium seats while we're covering the Griffins. So I'm sure he can relate.
Yes, I can.
You went on to work for a few different teams after Flint, like Saginaw, Erie, and Seattle in the WHL, where you worked with Barry Melrose for a year. What was it like working with Barry?
Well, I get a funny story about Barry, and I became pretty good friends with him. But the very first, we played an early season exhibition up in Anchorage, Alaska, when I was with the Seattle Thunderbirds, and we were playing against Victoria, 2-game series. They were looking at expansion in the Western Hockey League, and Anchorage was a place that they were considering, which talk about a little out of the way, but it was great. We went up there, played the games. My very first interview with Barry Melrose, we had a coaches show like, we do to this day with Griffins coaches, and he literally stopped the interview about 2 minutes into it because he didn't like one of the questions I asked him. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, this is going to be a long year. This was the very first interview, and I can't even really recall what the question was, but he wasn't happy with me about it, and so he told me to turn the recorder off and let's start over. And we quickly turned that corner, and like I say, became real good friends after I worked with him just the 1 year there in Seattle, but had a great time and stayed in touch with him for the most part. But yeah, it's just amazing the number of people that you look back on, and Barry Melrose included, that you can call friends to this day. It's pretty cool.
After you'd left Seattle, you ended up in Kansas City, like working for the Blades for a decade. What was hockey in Kansas City like? Because that's not a traditional market.
Yeah, even before that, I actually returned to Flint for a year from Seattle and worked in the last year, the legitimate International Hockey League. We were the New York Rangers affiliate, and Ken Morrow, I don't know if you guys know Ken, famous for the Olympic gold in 1980 and 4 Stanley Cups right after that. And Kenny was being hired by the New York Rangers affiliate as an assistant coach in Flint. And boy, you wouldn't believe what we had to go through putting a press release together to announce to Rangers fans that they're hiring one of the most despised New York Islanders in the history of that rivalry because Kenny scored a huge playoff goal against the Rangers and knocked him out of the postseason in the Stanley Cup one year. So anyway, spent a short time in Flint, and then was fortunate enough to wind up in Kansas City with another one of my really good friends to this day, Doug Sotard, who was a longtime goaltender in the National Hockey League and was the general manager in Kansas City. And what a great experience. I mean, I can't, my wife would tell you the same thing. We miss Kansas City big time. We wouldn't trade Grand Rapids for anything, but Kansas City gave us our 10 years of a wonderful association with the hockey team there in that community, and our 2 boys were born there. We have nothing but great fond memories of Kansas City and working with San Jose Sharks. In fact, the 2 broadcasters that were in San Jose, Dan Mrazek, the radio guy, and I'm drawing a blank on the TV guy, but they are still to this day there. They were the first broadcasters hired by the Sharks, and I work closely with them, and they're still to this day the voices of the Sharks. But man, I could go on and on talking about the time in Kansas City and some of the people that I worked with. We won a championship. In fact, we won a championship just down the road in Muskegon. The last year of the IHL in Muskegon, that was the Lumberjacks, and we went in there and swept them and won our first Turner Cup in 1992, and with some great players like Artur Zerbe, who would go on to be an NHL All-Star. Sandis Ozelins was with our team in Kansas City. They had some really good young prospects from San Jose that they had assigned to us. So yeah, it was great. We really enjoyed the time in Kansas City, and it was tough to pull up stakes there, but we knew they were shuffling chairs around the deck of the Titanic, those last couple of years of the IHL, and I was able to jump on board here in Grand Rapids, and obviously 25 years later, it's been an absolute blast here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Grand Rapids. The summer of the year 2000, right, is when you had joined the organization.
Yes.
How did that opportunity pop up?
Well, they had talked to me a year before I actually took the job, and then there were some some opportunities to come here, and one of them was broadcasting is my first love, as I think you guys know, and I didn't want to give that part of it up. And Rich Kincaid was here at that time, and Rich was a very good friend of mine, and eventually Rich left to pursue other opportunities, and wound up in Toledo, actually, in the Eastern League. But after he left, that's when the broadcast part of it became available, and I was very quick to jump on that opportunity, because I knew, the ownership here with Dan DeVos and his people, we became very intimate with them because they had bought the team in Kansas City. So I was actually working for them in Kansas City. That's how they got to know me and liked me enough to offer me a job here. And that's been easily the best move we've made. And yeah, how many great things we've gotten out of this city and this organization. I can't even begin to count. So it's been 25 really, really good years for the Kaser family, that's for sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, too. Your first broadcast with Flint, ironically, was in Grand Rapids in those IHL days against the Owls, too, right?
Yeah, the old Stadium Arena. Did you guys ever see that place?
I never got to see that one, unfortunately. What was that place like?
I got the nickname Hector on the way over here, by the way. I don't know how that came about, but I was sitting on the bus, nervous as can be, and on the 2-hour drive from Flint to Grand Rapids for our first game and my first broadcast. And Pierre Giroux was a player on the team in Flint and sitting right behind me, and he started calling me Hector. That's where that came from, and it stuck for that year, and then it went away right after that. So, lots of memories there too. But that was coming in here and playing against John Flesh and Rick Dorman and Mark Izzard, who's a good friend of mine to this day. Just seems like a few weeks ago, guys, and yet that was 40-something years back. My gosh, incredible! But that place had some charm to it.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Buildings that had some atmosphere and charm to them. So,
in all your travels that led you to Grand Rapids, what was one of the biggest things that you learned about yourself?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I learned early on that I was probably, a little full of myself. I think it's easy to get that way when you venture into sports and you get an opportunity like I got at a tender age, and you're not a player, you're just a front office guy, you're a broadcaster. You gotta realize your place in the business, and yeah, there's some importance to it, and you're doing a job that's viewed upon by fans as critical. You want to make them feel like they're in the arena while you're broadcasting, and make them feel like they're there, and but at the same time, it's all about the players, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what fans are here for, and they come to the games to watch the players, and you get a little recognition along the way as a broadcaster. That's great. I kind of let it go to my head back in the day, and just became a lot more humble over time, and just realized that you're just a part of a team that's off ice that certainly plays a key role in the success or lack thereof of a sports franchise. But I just needed to grow up a little bit, and it didn't take long for me to do that. So, and there were some people that were instrumental in helping me do that, like Mark Boileau, who was a GM coach in Flint, and a handful of others that had a great influence. Wally Shaver was the voice of the Flint Generals back then, and he grounded me as well. He's, just kept me in check, and fairly early on, they taught me, Bob, you got to quit being so cocky and full of yourself. So yeah, I was all of that and then some back in those days.
In your first few years with Grand Rapids, there were some really good teams that came through that they just couldn't get over that finish line in the playoffs. But do you have any good memories from those first, 5 years? Because those teams back those first few years were really good.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I remember, and don't tell the Red Wings this, but just being affiliated with Ottawa, it was fun. Got to meet some great people like Chris Neal and a long list of Mike Fountain at the time. Mike's still here in Grand Rapids, as you guys probably know, and I'm sure you get a chance to visit with him. So those were fun years. I mean, we had that one really good team the year before we signed the affiliation with Detroit. That was the year we got knocked out. I think it was Orlando, right? We lost 6-1 to nothing or 2-0. Norm Miracle was the goaltender for Orlando at that time, and that was fun. We had Butch Cassidy was coaching us at that time, and just a lot of great people, and coming here as a visitor with Kansas City, and just marveling at the downtown and the arena, and the downtown at that time obviously was still very much in the early stages of this incredible growth. Which, man, you want to put a city out there that is the poster child for build an arena and watch what happens in your downtown. You want to revitalize the downtown. Look at, you guys know, I mean, we all know firsthand, this is the model for that. I mean, Grand Rapids, the growth is phenomenal. But it all started with, 1996 with the building of the facility. And by the early 2000s, that growth really started to take off. And now here we are with one of the coolest downtowns there is in North America. So, and a lot of it to do with Van Andel Arena in those early days of great hockey and great people and affiliations with Ottawa, and then the match made in heaven, the Red Wings.
The NHL lockout season was weird just because obviously it meant no NHL hockey, but it made for some AHL teams that had really good rosters. Like, any memories from that year with the lockout?
Well, yeah, Nick Cronwall for us here was, obviously we got him, and he was a superstar and certainly a guy you knew was going to be a star in the National Hockey League, and he did just that. So, but yeah, beyond that, I gosh, 25 years in my mind is going away. It's funny when you're growing up and your parents are like, yeah, I can't remember this and I can't remember that, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Well, I'm now at that stage, so. But I certainly have a lot of memories of the hockey side of things, and a lot of every season you could throw it out there, and I think we could probably rattle off, some of those memories that from each season that really stand out, and some of the players that really stand out, and we've been blessed with so many along the way that I remember singing the Michigan fight song with Blake Sloan in it during a post-game show. Just those little things that will always stand out to me. Frankie Perry was in tears after, was it 13 when we won the cup, and the series right before that, Oklahoma City, I think it was, that we knocked him off. And Frankie Perry, that guy wanted to win so badly, and sure enough, we won that series, and he was just literally in tears. He could hardly compose himself. So. It goes to show you how much guys really cared about playing here too, and wearing that Griffins uniform, the pride that came with it, and just the trip down memory, guys. There's lots of them.
Yeah, well, I know one season that I'm sure you'll have good memory of is the 05-06 season, and I think I just need your explanation to our listeners that might not have followed the Griffins back then. Just explain how insane the season was that Don McLean had that year.
Isn't that something? 50 goals, you wonder, and everybody asks that same question: how do you score 56 goals and not play on a permanent basis in the National Hockey League, right? And as you guys know, I mean, and not quite as much then, but certainly now, if you can't skate, you're not going to play. I mean, it just that's what has really dominated the game now, is the skating and the speed, and that's what kept Matt Ford out of the NHL. And I hate to say that because I love Matt Ford to death, but he'd be the first one to tell you that's what kept him out of out of the NHL. And if nothing else, gosh, at least give him a game so he could say, all the years of dedication and hard work to get to this level, which still is widely considered the second best league in the world. But the end goal is to play in the NHL, and to at least have gotten the chance to play one game in the NHL. You'd love to see Matt Ford get that opportunity, but it was never afforded him. But yeah, the game has certainly changed from even. I mean, I find it, guys, and you probably see it up top when you come to the Griffins games or any hockey game. You watch it from the press box, and I mean, I find it sometimes hard to keep up. I mean, the game is so fast now, and the timeout rules, and it's just boom. There's a stop and play, and 10 seconds later they're dropping the puck again. So, I feel sorry for Larry Fagrisky sometimes because he doesn't get to, provide that tremendous color analysis that he does. He has so many things he's got written down that he wants to talk about, never gets to half of them just because there's no time to do it. So, but that's all good. I mean, it's all good. It's, the game has changed, and even back then when Don McLean was lighting it up, he just has a little bit of a step behind, and that's what, for the most part, kept him out of the NHL.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Back in 2002, when Detroit had the affiliation with Grand Rapids that year, how excited were you just being a Red Wings fan that we were finally partnered up with Detroit?
It was awesome. Yeah, and, back to what we talked about a moment ago, just, going to Traverse City for training camp, like having behind-the-scenes access to, to all those guys, and, and getting interviews and sound bites from them that we could use during our season in Grand Rapids. But I will remember, though, that I joke to this day with anytime I ever see Chris Chelios, but he made us wait around one day to do an interview with him. They had a room set up for us, and to do all of our one-on-one interviews. And Chelios was the last one. We literally waited around for about an hour. And then finally he comes into the room, and he had a look on his face like it was the last place on the planet he wanted to be, was coming into a room to do an interview with these guys from Grand Rapids. So he was like most everybody else, couldn't wait to get, their personal chauffeurs and out to the boat for the fishing excursion or to one of the golf courses, which was waiting for all of those guys when they were done for the day at the Center Ice Arena up there in Traverse City. So, but yeah, I mean, gosh, growing up a Red Wing fan, and heck, I'm old enough to where I went to some games at the old Olympia, and I was there the night Dennis Polanish got baseball whacked by Wilf Paymont, that ugly incident that brought about a lawsuit, and many, many years after they finally settled it. But we were at that game that night, and so I was a huge, huge, huge Red Wing fan, like many of us were growing up, and listened to Bruce Martin, to this day probably my top three favorite broadcasters of all time, and what a thrill it was to finally get a chance to meet him and some of the others that were associated with the Red Wings for all those years back in the day. So. Yeah, it was how cool is it to all of a sudden here we are now, the affiliate of the Detroit Red Wings, and to be able to throw a Red Wings shirt on or a hat and know that you were actually now officially a part of that was really cool for myself and some of the others that were with us at that time that were Red Wing fans.
And they got to bring the cup to Van Andel the first year. Like that was, I remember that as a kid.
Yeah, wasn't that something?
Oh, it was wild.
Yeah.
And since that affiliation happened, you've gotten the opportunity to work Red Wing games. That has to be one of the coolest parts of the job for you. And what has those experiences been like for you?
Well, I think the one that stands out, Trav, is the first few games, obviously very nervous. And I never forget, it was right here in this house that I got the call from Todd Beam, who was at the time was the PR director, still is VP of communications for the Red Wings, and Todd's a dear friend, and he was the guy that made the call to let me know that Ken Cowell was sick, and they thought that I'd be the guy to call up, if you will, and I no hesitation. Like I thought I was dreaming. Actually, it was very surreal for me. But what was even more surreal is a couple of nights later, after doing my first game for the Wings at Jolos Arena, and a couple of nights later, they're in Montreal at the Bell Center, and holy cow! I mean, my second game as the voice of the Detroit Red Wings is in Montreal, Quebec, and I remember standing in that broadcast booth, and then the gondola there is. All the broadcasters will tell you it's the greatest setup in the National Hockey League, and although Little Caesars now rivals that, but to be in the Bell Center on a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, and serving as the radio voice of the Detroit Red Wings with Bob Cole, who is probably my favorite broadcaster of all time, down below me doing the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast. I was standing there during the national anthem, and it was the most out-of-body experience I think I've ever had. Like, I'm looking down below me, and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh. I mean, I'm getting ready to call the Red Wings and the Canadiens on a Saturday night from Montreal. How cool is this? With Paul Woods side by side, I mean, that will stand out like it was yesterday, forever and ever and ever. And then the experiences since then, guys, I mean, just, doing a lot more radio games and unfortunately at the expense of those guys, with Ken Cal dealing with some health issues, but thank goodness he's healthy now and doing great, knock on wood, and we're all healthy. And Ken Daniels had the spill last year in Edmonton, and I had to fly out there and cover for him for TV at the last minute. But what an experience! And the Red Wings organization, Mickey Redmond just made it the experience that it was way beyond whatever I thought it would be. And I got nothing but great things to say about the Wings organization and the way they've treated me and given me that opportunity to serve as a fill-in voice of the Red Wings. I'll take it.
Did you get to meet Bob Cole at all?
I did, yeah. I got a great picture with Bob up in the press box and outside the Canadiens locker room. Got a chance to visit with him a little bit and told him one of my favorite videos is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the 7-minute video, The Best of Bob Cole. If you get a chance, do yourself a favor and watch it. I mean, it gives you goosebumps, and I have no skin in the game with him other than just being a big fan of hockey and Bob Cole and the way he called the games. And there's a goal in there by Desjardins that just gives me goosebumps to this day. I mean, I've watched it probably 100 times, and the way he called that thing is just, oh my gosh, incredible. Yeah, he was the best. He was the very best as far as I'm concerned. Ken Daniels right there with him, and Ken Cal as well.
So being able to cover the Griffins, and how special is it for you once you get to Detroit to be able to call those kids like that you've been able to already cover while you're up here?
Well, the best one was last year, Dom Shine. I mean, just to spend all those years with Dom, and you guys know him. I mean, he's the heart and soul of the Griffins and has been now for 7-8 years. And there's a guy, boy, if you're rooting for, I mean, I root for them all because I love them all. They're family to me, and just Dom knows a special story, and no one deserved it more than he did. And to be in Calgary with him last year when he picked up his first NHL point, I mean, it was one thing just to be there with him and see him in the morning at the morning skate and do a quick interview that we sent back to Grand Rapids, and then to call the game that night, his first point in the NHL, that, man, to this day, he and I still talk about that. And he knows how special it was for me to be there with him for that. And, I think it's bonded us even more, to have had that opportunity to support him and be there for that really special moment in his career. And I sure hope he gets some more games. He deserves it. And yeah, and all the rest of the guys too. I don't know if you guys saw, I got a great picture with, I think it was 9 of the Red Wings at that time that had been in Grand Rapids, the likes of Mort Seider and, Johansson was there. And this was all last year, to take a picture with them outside the plane when we got back from that Western swing, and to have them all right there with me in that photo was really cool. Yeah, that's a picture I'll definitely, that'd be about the most cherished picture I think I might have in my possession right now.
I remember them posting that. It was like, well, like, because Brandon and I have been covering for about 2.5-3 years now, and we're like, it's crazy to see everybody up there at that point, even for us, just on the sidelines. So very cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to 2013. The Griffins finally get to hoist the Calder Cup. They become champions. I can still remember to this day your radio call because I had to watch it on TV, obviously being in Syracuse. How cool was that day for you? Like the emotions, just everything for you?
Yeah, it was surreal in many different ways, Brandon. Like I remember Peter Mrazek. And you guys remember we were up 3-0 in that series, and had 2 chances to win it at home, in front of sold out building. Tickets were going for $350 out on the streets for Game 4 and Game 5, and we lost both. Now you got to go into that barn in Syracuse. Talk about old time hockey, and a building that is intimidating. That was one of the last really intimidating buildings around, and the fans made it that way too. I mean, they were blue collar fans, and I loved it. I give full marks to Syracuse. They've done a great job there. But Peter Mrazek at that morning skate just said, "We got this," and the way he said it, just I walked away from that rink that day knowing we were going to win that night. And that's the confidence that team had, and Peter Mrazek had, and sure enough, we would go on and win Game 6. And I remember, the last few seconds, and after I got done with my long spiel and Larry Figursky got done with his long spiel, the next thing I know, Figursky's on the ice. Like, how in the heck did he get press box down to the ice and celebrate with the team that quick? It was remarkable how quickly he got down there. Man, what a great experience. And then we had, of course, Redbird won. We'd flown the Wings plane there, and that trip back home was way too short. It seemed like by the time we took off, we were already landing, and then the police escort from the airport in Grand Rapids to the rink, and people in the parking lot at 2:00 in the morning or 1:30, whatever time it was. We finally got back, and yeah, that was special for a lot of reasons. And I think probably leading the way, you guys, was Grand Rapids and our fans getting that championship. I felt bad we didn't get it done in front of them right in Grand Rapids, but that we took care of that business 4 years later in 2017, and won the title and right here in our backyard. So a championship's a championship, and our fans deserved it. And I felt so good for them and the organization, the DeVosses, the Van Andels, and everybody that had poured their heart and soul into Griffins hockey up to that point. Hey, we're finally champions here, and why not do it again? And now we're 8 years removed from a championship. It's high time we get back into that winner's circle. What do you think?
I agree.
Speaking of 17, how special was it to get to call that at home and be at top in your seat in Grand Rapids there in the press box?
Well, the only bad side of it is it just showed the whiny part of me, like the emotional side of me. It just, if people ever wonder how much I care about my team, just listen to those calls. It's like, come on, Bob, grow up. Like, you gotta toughen up. But yeah, I mean, I was literally in tears for both of those games, but the one at home just, meant more. And yeah, just to watch it unfold right there in front of us in that building, that was cool. That was really cool. So, and then to get the chance to go down on the ice and do some post game interviews and be right in the middle of it was awesome. I missed the in the locker room celebration though. I would have loved to have been in there to be a part of that. But yeah, man, it was just a blast, wasn't it? You guys were around, right?
Oh yeah. The show wasn't around then, but I was around at least then, of course, watching the team. And I didn't get to go to that game, unfortunately, because tickets were so hard to come by. But
should have called me, Brandon.
I didn't know you back then, Bob. I wish I did. Jeez, that would have been way better. But yeah, I mean, either way, celebrating and watching on TV or being in the arena, either way, like you said, it means so much to the city. And being a fan of the team since it's the inception, the emotions were high. Don't worry about crying on the radio. I think every fan was crying too. So we're all right there with you.
It was yeah, I mean, it was just incredible. I don't. That's one thing somebody asked me not too long ago. Just what if you could go back and start over again in broadcasting? What would you look to be better at? And my answer is always the same. It's being able to share the emotions with a vocabulary that I don't necessarily have. And I'm at a loss for words and I can't find them. Like. I listen to Jason Benetti. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but he is fantastic, and that guy paints pictures like there's times when I don't even want to listen to him because I get jealous of him. He just has a way about him, and that his way with words is remarkable, really is. So
we're very lucky to have him in Detroit. He's special.
Oh yeah, man, we just have some of the best.
We really do.
Red Wings and obviously the Tigers and Dan Miller with the Lions is just incredible, and obviously, the Pistons. I mean, we're for one guy I do miss though is Bob Buford. Bob Buford, Michigan football.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
When we won the cup, did you get a chance with it at all?
oh yeah, I got
What'd you
blamed
do
for
with it?
breaking it, by the way.
Oh, there's a story here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know how wild I am, right? I mean,
Second guess with a cup break.
I'm Kaser, but it was in pieces, and as it always is, and the Turner Cup too was back in 1992 when we won that. I got blamed for. I was the last one in possession of it when it got back to our general manager Doug Sotart, and when he went to pick it up, it was about 7 different pieces when he picked it up. So yeah. But who was in possession of this last? It was Kaser. Okay, that wild and crazy Kaser. He had to have busted it up. But yeah, no, I got time with it, and in fact, we had a lot of time with it because it stayed here in Grand Rapids for a pretty good period of time. It left to go to other parts of the country and join some of the players so they could have their couple of days with it. But it wound up back here, and we were in possession of it for quite a bit. And we took full advantage of it. We took it to some of our sponsors, places of business, and made sure we looked after people who had been huge supporters of the hockey team. And it was put to good use, that's for sure.
So you brought up Larry. What's it been like working with him all these years?
It's as good as it gets. Yeah, I had some great people. I had Don Fortune and Ken Hammond, a former NHL. Daryl Ray actually worked with me in Kansas City. I don't know if you know Daryl, but he's the longtime color analyst for the Dallas Stars and one of the most popular figures in the NHL. And he did some games with me in the playoffs when I was in Kansas City. So I was blessed there, and I was very fortunate there. But Larry Figurski has been, he's such an incredible talent. I mean, he's an NHL talent for sure, as far as that goes. And he could be an NHL play-by-play guy. He's a fly under the radar, really good play-by-play guy. As people have heard when I'm not here and he fills in, we're in great hands, great capable hands with Larry. So, but not only is he hockey knowledgeable and does a great job in providing fans with the insights, but he's a dear friend and a wonderful human being. And then of course we both share stories of heart ailments. Larry had the massive heart attack, and then I had open heart surgery 5 years ago, and so that brought us even closer together, if that was possible. So I love Larry to death, and his wife Lisa, and his daughters, and we don't want these days to come to an end, so we're hanging on for as long as we can.
Talking about Larry, there's another guy that's been around the organization a long time too, and that's Brad Dog Thompson. I'm sure you have a relationship with him. What's that been like all these years?
Well, the relationship, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's impossible not to just admire and love Brad Thompson. And the thing that impresses me about him is just how much the players respect him, and and I'm talking like guys that leave here, and even back to some of those those legendary names from the old days with the Red Wings. Those guys would literally, I'd be on a bus trip with him, and we'd be creeping up on the playoffs back in the day when the Wings were in the playoffs, right? But he'd get calls from certain members of the Red Wings asking, "Hey, you're gonna be up here when you guys are done?" And that's how much they liked having him around. And Paul Boyer, who has been the longtime equipment guy for Detroit, was good about having Brad come up if we got knocked out or we didn't make the playoffs, which back then I think we made it pretty much every year. But once we got knocked out, he would join the Wings, and and the players were all excited about that. But man, he stayed close. I know to a lot of guys that have left, whether they're still in the game of hockey or they're in the NHL or they're out of the game of hockey. He's maintained close relationships with a lot of those people, and not surprising. He's one of the funniest human beings I've ever met. The players just get such a kick out of him, but he's also very, he knows when to lay down the law, and so the players have a great deal of respect for him that way too. And I know my relationship with him probably was enhanced when he hired my son Charlie. I mean, I wanted no part of any of that, and I flat out told him, I said, "Listen, Charlie, my son wants to get into this business. but I don't want him getting a job just because his last name is Kaser. And, in fact, maybe that's a curse on him for all I know. But, Brad said, nope, Charlie's, when one of his many assistants went on to the NHL, that job opened up and he hired Charlie. And boy, what he did for our son for 5 years here, I can't even begin to thank him enough. Not just as a really good, solid equipment manager. Where he's now in Texas as the head equipment manager there, and has been for 2 years. And it's all thanks to Doug. And it's not just the job itself. It's what he did with Charlie as mentoring him as a human being and how to deal with the players. And there's nobody better at it than Brad Thompson. It can be awfully intimidating walking into a professional hockey locker room and dealing with these guys on a daily basis and all the intricacies and the personalities and Dog has got it down to a science. Like he is so good at it, and he taught Charlie how to be good at it. And so my wife and I, we will forever be indebted to Brad for setting Charlie on a career path that we think is going to be a very successful one. And and Brad is how many? I think it's 5 now. 5 former assistants that are either in the NHL or are on their way to the NHL. And so we just think the world of Brad Thompson, as do most people. We joke all the time about he's probably as popular, if not more so, than most of the players that ever performed here in Grand Rapids. So, and there's a reason for that. He's endeared himself to the fans and to the organization, and and all credit to him.
How cool has it been to watch your son just grow in his career, especially now being in Texas?
Well, it's funny because I ran into Jeff Boyd, who coached my son Charlie back in the day when he played hockey, and Charlie was a pretty timid kid. And I told Jeff, I said, I saw him at our golf outing a week and a half ago, Jeff Boyd, and I told you wouldn't even recognize Charlie. You wouldn't even know him. The maturity level has gone way, way up. And then hockey has been a big part of that. And Brad Thompson's been a huge part of that. We're as proud of him as we can be. I mean, he's settled down. He got married last summer. They just announced to us a couple of months ago that they're having their first baby, a baby boy, in early December. So my wife and I, Rosalie, will be grandparents for the first time. We're very, very excited about that. We're going to go broke because my wife, Rosalie, is buying everything under the sun that looks cute for the baby boy that's on the way. But, God love her. She's as excited as I am about it. And we've seen Charlie already get some offers from National Hockey League teams. A couple of them kind of unofficial, but can't really say much about it. But there's one that in San Jose, an assistant's job there that was offered to him, and they had to turn it down. That just with what's going on right now with the baby coming, and they really like it in Texas. And so he's 30 years old, and he's already getting opportunities, at least phone calls from NHL teams. And so we're very confident that he's gonna land in a good spot, and kind of pick and choose for the most part, and that's a good position to be in. And he's earned it. He's done a nice job, and we're very, very proud of him.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. I mean, congratulations on the baby coming.
Yeah,
too. That's
thanks, guys.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you wear a few different hats in the organization, including, vice president of broadcasting, but you're also involved with the Grand Rapids volleyball team, the Grand Rapids Rise. What's that been like?
It's been fun. Have you guys been down to matches?
One game so far for me.
Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, I'm not I'm really into the women's volleyball and softball. Those are the 2 sports I like. Not a big WNBA fan, but I love those 2 sports, and to see it in person, wow. Those girls are amazing, and we're really excited about the future of the franchise. It's probably taken a little longer to take hold here in Grand Rapids than we had kind of anticipated 2 years ago when we first announced that the team was coming. And but we've held our own, and I think that popularity is going to grow pretty quickly and going forward here. And we just announced a kind of a rebranding, if you will, of the league, new name for the league, and another new franchise. And I think that'll bring a little more stability and enthusiasm to the ranks, and away we go. So it's been fun. It's we had arena football here, as you remember, back in the early 2000s with the Rampage. I'd be honest, I didn't think I was going to like that much. I mean, football played in a hockey rink just and I'm a huge football fan. College football is one of my favorite things on the planet. So it was hard to accept it, but it was once we got the players in and put the show on at the Van Andel Arena and then won that title in 2001. It was pretty cool. And unfortunately, the league just couldn't survive. But yeah, we've had some fun along the way with volleyball and football. And of course, the one most stable product has been the Griffins. And you can see why. This organization's done a great job promoting it, and the city's done a great job getting behind it.
And Bob, you're also the president of the Griffins Youth Foundation. Can you explain to our listeners what that foundation does and how they can support it if they'd like to?
Well, it goes back, I give credit to Dan and Pam DeVos. I mean, they saw a need for providing hockey to kids that might not be able to afford it. And let's face it, it is a very expensive sport to play. So even before the Griffins dropped the first puck, Dan and Pam DeVos decided we're going to start a youth organization that's going to support kids that cannot afford to play the game. And started off with an affiliation with Clancy Street Ministries and a couple of other small organizations that provided the kids for the organization. It's 100 and some odd kids, I think, at the beginning, and now 30 years later, we're nearing 500 kids that get to play the game and also do other things besides just play the sport of hockey. And we've introduced some academic opportunities and introducing kids to colleges, primarily Ferris State University. We have a partnership with them, and basically just instilling in them that you too can go to college. I mean, we had a lot of kids in our program that were not really even thinking about school, let alone graduating from high school. And not only do we have them believing now that we're going to graduate from high school, we're going to do it successfully, and then we're going to go on to college, and that's something that we've got a lot of great stories of kids who have participated in the program that have gone on to bigger and better things, and we continue to strive to make it even better with partnerships with Acrisure, who provide us some scholarships, and the DeVos Foundation providing us scholarships. Meyer also provides us some scholarship money that we can do some fun things with and reward kids that deserve the opportunity. So it's cool. It's hockey. It's hockey the way it's supposed to be. You go there on a Saturday and watch these kids play all day. There's hardly any yelling and screaming at officials. There's hardly any yelling and screaming at the kids by their parents or any adults in the building. It's refreshing. It really is. And we're very proud of what we've accomplished. And Lynn and Lou Rabeau deserve a ton of credit for, getting the programs off and running and guiding it for so many years. And then I was fortunate enough to jump on board and to this day still tickled pink to have a chance to be a part of that.
Giving back to West Michigan, something that you've done a lot of, when did it all start and kind of what led to it?
You know what? I'll be honest. I saw back in the day that the hockey players themselves, I mean, they recognized that, yeah, they were here to play a game and provide entertainment that way, but they also recognized the need to give back in their respective communities. So, I just kind of followed the lead of those guys, and I thought, this is pretty cool. These guys, they're really good with fans, and I think there was and still is to this day a misconception about hockey players. People that maybe have never had the chance to meet them or hang out with them, that think that they're just a bunch of toothless thugs. Well, that's the farthest thing from the truth. As you guys know, they're, in my estimation, with all due respect to other sports and other athletes, they're as approachable and accommodating as any athlete there is on the planet. And I just felt like back in the day, we've got an opportunity here. We got an opportunity here to get these guys out into the community and impress people and make fans of people. And it's worked. I mean, and all these non-traditional hockey markets are now becoming hockey markets for that very reason. It's not just the excitement of the game. It's the fact that people are going to games, maybe having met a player, and it's like, well, I got to go see that guy play. And, spreads like wildfire. And, our hockey players are just terrific. We got to take full advantage of getting them out and marketing our product. And that's the best way to do it.
Going back to, just talking about the game overall, what's surprised you about how this game has grown over these years? Like, what's the most surprising thing when you look at the game of hockey?
I don't know if I'm surprised at anything, to be honest with you. I think most people would probably tell you, Brandon, that they're most surprised by the success of hockey in the South. But again, going back to my youth, in Jacksonville, Florida, within a year after I, got hooked on hockey, you could see that it was a sport that nobody had been really associated with, and yet the enthusiasm of my friends and people around me down there was like, man, this is going to catch on. And sure enough, I mean, gosh, look at what Texas has. Dallas and the Texas Stars and a bunch of other teams that are, that are lower level leagues, and the youth hockey thing has exploded there, and same thing in Florida, same thing in California. I mean, these were places you never in a million years thought hockey would catch on. I didn't think that way because I'd seen it firsthand in Florida, but it's taken off. It's a sport that has captured the imagination of people in all 50 states and beyond. So warm weather, cold weather, doesn't matter. It's a great game, and we're the four of us are blessed to be around it, aren't we? To get a chance to do what we get to do, and it's again, I don't want it to end for me personally. I want to be able to broadcast, and like Bob Chase was, 85, I think, when he called his last Fort Wayne Comet game. I still got a few years to go to get there, but hopefully I can get there.
You talked about line brawls earlier in the show. Take us back to that one with the Griffins and the Ice Hogs in 2013.
Oh boy. Yeah, that was something, wasn't it? My goodness. It's and that was on Valentine's Day too, I think.
It was the Pink the Rink game. Yep.
Yeah, it was Valentine's Day of all days. Like, holy cow. Yeah, I heard a lot of great stories after that, although some of them were a little scary. Just how, like Tristan Grant was in the middle of all of that, and Tristan, you cross those wires with him, and it can get a little. You don't want to be within his vicinity if the wires are crossing. But and I love Tristan Grant to death, but he was a tough dude, and that he was involved in some of the scarier incidents within that brawl. But I think it was Mrazek got beat up pretty good in there. He had two. I remember getting on the bus after the game, and he's sitting there in the third row. He's right up by me, and he's got two black eyes, and he's just laughing up a storm. He just thought it was one of the funniest things he'd been involved in. So, yeah, that was something. That's one of the few brawls that I can remember. I'd have to go back into the 90s to relive some of the 90s and 80s, and they were pretty much on a weekly basis back in those days. So that one stood out for that very reason, that there just weren't too many of those in the last 15 or 20 years. But yeah, it was Riley Shane, I think, was on the receiving end of a kind of a nasty, dirty hit from one of the who was it? Oh gosh, it was one of the brothers that is now a referee, actually, in the American Hockey League, of all things.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I'm drawing a blank. This is where the old age thing is setting in, but Cody Beach. Yeah, the Beach Boys. So yeah. I think that's what sparked it. And Wade Brookbank was out there at the time, and there were some guys that, yep, you put them in that situation, and that's what you're going to get. So it was entertaining.
Grand Rapids has had its share of some big guys like that too. You think of Daryl Bootland, Ryan Barnes. I mean, we had Marty McSorley for a couple of games.
Yeah,
it was
Matt Ruckty.
Matt Ruckty goes way back. Yeah,
he was as tough as they come. That guy. He was one of the last guys I remember. He had when he was won the championship, and was it in Utica? I think. Was it Utica or Albany? No, it was Albany. Yeah, he won the American League title in Albany, and he had like 35 goals and 360 penalty minutes. Like, how'd you find enough time to score that many goals with that many days spent in a penalty box? And back in those days, you look up stats of hockey players back in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of those kind of players that had 30, 35 goals and 400 and some odd penalty minutes. You know, every team had 3 or 4 guys plus 300 minutes in penalties. So crazy when you think about that. That's
I'll never
unheard of
forget
now.
the season having Bootland and Barnes on the same team. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
And Chris Neal.
oh yeah, Neeler was there too.
Yeah. Some tough boys.
So, Bob, you've called over 3,000 games. Do you have one call that stands out as your all-time favorite? Not just
Oh, my
Griffins, but just in general. Not from the generals, but just in general.
I remember almost speaking of fighting, I almost got into a fight with a fan in Portland, Oregon. He didn't like.
Oh, there's a story here.
He didn't like the fact I was calling it Oregon. So I went to a commercial break, and he was reading me the riot act. And I was with Seattle at the time, and that rivalry with Portland and Seattle was so intense that it even carried over into the stands with a fan right behind me telling me it's Oregon. And then he heard me say a few more things, and later in the broadcast, I literally was standing face to face with him during another commercial break. It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But no, I mean, most of my favorite moments are, championships with Kansas City in '92 when we won it in Muskegon, in front of, I think it was 1,200 fans were at the game because they had announced earlier that year that the team was leaving to go to Cleveland. And so the people in Muskegon kind of turned their backs on Larry Gordon, who was the owner at that time, and the Lumberjacks. And unfortunately, their crowds just dwindled to next to nothing. And here you are, Game 4, of a championship in which we won that night and played in front of 1,200 people. I think half of them had driven up from Kalamazoo to support us because half of our players were in Kalamazoo the year before the San Jose Sharks moved, or Minnesota North Stars at that time had moved their affiliation to Kansas City, and San Jose took over. And anyway, so that was a great night. And then obviously the two championships with Kansas City, and there were some disappointments along the way. Certainly, I think losing that game in Orlando that we talked about, with the Griffins was a tough one. We had such a good team. We really thought that was a team that was going to win it. Same thing in 2006, with Don McLean and Jimmy Howard, and that team that won the regular season title. And some injuries towards the end kind of cost us. But yeah, you're going to win some, lose some, right? And
yep.
thank goodness we've got a couple of wins. But I don't know. Beyond that, there's so many games. Obviously, I can probably recall all 3,000 of them if you guys want to settle back.
We've got time. I'm just kidding.
Charged.
Yeah. It's been a blast, though, I can tell you. And and then the best part of it, to be honest with you, is just having a chance to work for the people I've worked for. I mean, people have asked me about not getting that permanent job in the NHL. Well, part of that is I just never really applied for NHL jobs because I never believed in myself. And it wasn't until Detroit in 16-17 when I did a bunch of those games for Ken Cal and got a lot of really good feedback. And then I finally thought, well, I'm not too old just yet. I could put my name in for NHL jobs, and I did, and almost wound up with the Boston Bruins job. I finished in the top 3 for that position, and that's when I, realized that, maybe I am good enough to work there. But even if I had applied, guys, like I don't know, there's no guarantee I would have ever gotten an NHL job. So I guess my point to this is I've been in as good a positions as I could possibly be without being in the NHL. Kansas City was a magical 10 years. Seattle was a great 5 years, and then obviously Grand Rapids now 25. I mean, gosh, I don't know if I'd trade it, to be honest with you. I really don't. And now having a chance to fill in for the Red Wings and call 50 games or so, and they know I'm here if they need me in the future, and that's a nice position to be in. To be considered as the backup for the Detroit Red Wings, I'll take that any day.
Amen to that. I completely agree. I mean, my last question for you, Bob, and I mean, you've hinted to it all throughout the interview here, but you even mentioned the health issues, the heart surgery and everything. Just what's it meant to you to be able to still do this for all these years and to still be able to keep going?
Well, I tip my hat to a lot of people around me. People that have, and you talk about a testament to a great organization. There are very few minor pro hockey teams or baseball teams, for that matter, that can say they've got what I think we have 7 or 8 people in our office that have been there for as long as I have and beyond. That's incredible. Like Tim Gortzman, our president, who I just think the world of and become a dear friend and just someone I've looked up to and learned so much from. And, he's allowing me now, along with the ownership, Dan DeVos and the Van Andels and Scott Gorsline, who's kind of the right-hand man for Dan DeVos. I've been real close to him for a long time. And they're kind of letting me dictate, how I go out here. And that's an honor that's, kind of tough to top. And, so I'm I'm not on an exit plan by any means. I'm in a, kind of a backing off stage, I guess you will. And it's kind of a slow stepping away from certain things that I do in the front office. I'm in year 2 of that now. And ultimately, I think my plan is just to, kind of get away from the business side of it, which I still love all of that. It's very hard to pull away from any of that, but it's a process right now, and let some of the younger people take over, and younger, more creative people, and with some fresh ideas. And I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody. And, maybe at some point I'd, just take the summers off and broadcast the games in the winter. That's at this point in my career, that's kind of where I'd like to go. And the organization's basically allowing me to head in that direction. And I can't thank them all enough, to work with me on that and allow me, the luxury of being able to, kind of on my terms, just decide kind of where this thing is going. So, Tim Gortzman, Sean Wright, and Matt Batchelder, and Lisa Vetter, and all these people that I've worked with for Randy Cleves, probably my dearest friend. And, Randy and I go back to our days in Kansas City. He was working with me in KC before he got the job here, and then we were reunited 2 years later. So, we've remained very, very, very close to this day. So, yeah, it's I'm going to start crying here again, guys.
That's not what we were going for, I promise.
It's the allergies. it's the weather.
it's allergies for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
like you guys, it's blessed to have relationships with with you guys and Jack Doles and so many others here, and so I'm not going anywhere. That's the bottom line. And as long as my health holds up, and I was blessed to find the heart issue before it got the best of me and took my life. I was very lucky, and now I'm as healthy as I've been in a long time. Knock on wood, and hoping a lot more hockey games to come.
yeah, same. That's what we hope for too. Well, Bob, that's all the questions we have for you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your off season to do this with us. I know this is something we've wanted to do for a bit, but we didn't have the way to get it done. And now to get you on here, it's an absolute pleasure and a dream. So thank you so much. And thank you just for everything.
I can't thank you guys enough for thinking that highly of me to have me. There's a lot of very important people in here in West Michigan, and not just in the world of hockey, but some of the old players, like we were talking about, getting Fiersky on, but Ruckty and Fountain and all those guys would be fun to listen to as well. So no, I really appreciate you considering me in that long list of hockey folks here in West Michigan. It's an honor to be with you guys.
And welcome back to just the three of us guys here. What a fun one with Bob. Thank you so much to him again for taking that time to come on the show. And thank you, of course, to the Grand Rapids Griffins for helping getting that one organized this offseason with us. Let's talk about our takeaways from this one. I'm going to go to Trav first here. What did you think? What was your biggest takeaway from that interview with Bob?
How much he just loves the city of Grand Rapids and has made that his home. And ultimately, too, like just how like it didn't even like come to his head to apply for an NHL job for how many years, right? And then he said he was close with Boston. But just how much he loves it, and he's a huge part of the organization, and how the organizations are paying him back by kind of taking a step back in the front office and then just kind of also be able to commentate the games.
Yeah, I 100% agree. What about you, Nick?
So I didn't know he started in Flint. So that was huge for me because I'm from Flint. Him talking about the IMA and the IMA sports arena, like it's now the Dordt Federal And it was Piranha Arena before that. So him talking through of like the 4,900 fans, like I can envision it because I've been there so many times. I actually graduated in that building. Did I? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, I know some of my family has, so I'm trying to think, did I? So yeah, just like that, and like him trying to like find a spot to be able to record. Like I could just kind of vision all of that, like walking through and trying to find a spot because that place is we've been there, Brandon. It's loud and it's
It is.
crazy, it's chaotic, and it's tough to find a quiet spot to be able to record. So it's kind of cool to do that because then it also like kind of reminds us of like when we started the podcast, like where are the seats you're clipping? Like we're tweeting it to, posting everything up. So like our journeys are very similar, even, however long in between, how we started and how Bob started. So it's kind of funny to kind of see that angle.
Yeah, that is a cool way to look at it. And that is a crazy way to land that job. Those tapes, recording in those seats to get that job. I mean, for me, I have the same takeaway as Travis. He loves the city of Grand Rapids. He loves the Grand Rapids Griffins. He loves hockey. Like we all love hockey, but you can tell that man loves the game. And not just the game itself, but all the players he worked with. He truly, genuinely cares about all these prospects that move on and move up to the NHL that he's called games for. And, like him talking about being there in Calgary for Dom Shine's first point and being able to call that game and how much that meant to him, and that him and Dom still talk about that to this day. And that's a really cool thing. And just overall, just how genuinely great of a person Bob is, especially, you look at all the health scares he's had in his time, and be able to still do this at the level he does it is beyond impressive. And you can tell he's extremely thankful and doesn't take it for granted. So amazing person, always been a voice of the Griffins. In my eyes, it's for, I've been a fan of the team since the start. Obviously, I was going to games as a kid when the team first came around, but that's the voice I can remember at least listening to on the car ride home and the post-game shows after the game in the early 2000s there. And that's really cool to finally get him on the show and talk to him. So thank you again to Bob. And yeah, it's just a fun time. Ready to see him for game 1 of the season. Definitely ready for that. Moving on from Bob, though, we're going to talk about the Griffins promo schedule that was released. There's some fun ones on there this year, guys. I'm kind of excited for this. Nick, I should say but Nick is more of the big vibes guy here, loves the promo stuff, loves the little things like this. And there's some fun stuff on there. We'll put the graphic up on screen for you guys in the show here if you're watching on YouTube so you can see it as well. You got the home opener on October 17th. You get a rally towel with that in the magnet schedule, classic magnet schedule, first game of the season. That's kind of just a given every year. You got a calendar giveaway on October 18th. The dog game is on November 2nd this year. You get a Griffins dog leash giveaway with that. That's pretty cool. The school day game, oh God, is November 12th. It's the loudest game of the year. For anyone that goes to those, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You got Military Appreciation Night on November 14th. And then you got Super Squad Night, which I'm guessing is a superhero appearance night on November 22nd. But it also gives us the Dominic Shine bobblehead giveaway. So Dom Shine gets his first NHL game last year and his first bobblehead this year. And the Griffins did a cool video with his daughter wearing a shirt that was like, "My dad's a bobblehead," to announce it to him. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did. Being able to surprise him that route was really cool, and with Coop out there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Then you got Friday, November 28th, Teddy Bear Toss, classic, one of our favorite games every single year. November 30th is the 30th anniversary celebration night. We're giving away a poster to commemorate the season. I'm curious to see what else they'll do with that. That one doesn't have a specialty jersey mark next to it. I really thought that one would. Then you got December 13th, the Red Kettle game, which always brings probably one of the better specialty jerseys of the season. We always look forward to that one. This one's a new one here. You got December 21st. It's a Sunday at Tricks and Hoops night with a tank top giveaway that has like the retro Pistons logo, but in Griffins format there. And it's the teal tank top. It's kind of cool. And it's got a jersey marked next to that, which means we could potentially get a Detroit Pistons Griffins jersey like we got a Lions jersey last year.
Probably the one jersey. Last year I didn't get any jerseys.
You were well behaved last year.
I was behaved and I missed out. The ones that I really wanted went for a lot of money, more than what I thought any of them were going to. So this year, I'm going to buckle down. We're going for that Pistons one because I love the teal. I love the old school logo of the Pistons. That's what I grew up watching. Grant Hill, I can remember. So it's going to be cool to see it on the ice, see a Griffin style one. That's the one I'm going to be hunting down. So Even if it's even if it's a blank, maybe I'll even go that route. See,
Just want your hands on that one.
Yeah, maybe Doc can try to help me out here.
I doubt it.
Bribe him or something,
We're not special enough to get hooked up like that yet.
Yeah.
After that game, though, you got the New Year's Eve post-game fireworks on December 31st, obviously. You got old-time hockey night with a vintage hat giveaway on January 17th. It's a red hat with the Griffins G, which kind of has a cream color to it, like the Red Wings, 100-year logo. I'm kind of wondering if we get a potential, like, Red Wings outdoor game at the big house, like jersey with the Griffins G on it. I kind of really hope so. And if that is the case, Travis has already said I get his credit card to get him a jersey at no limit, right, Trav? Most expensive one, just run it up for fun.
You didn't see what player. I didn't hear a player.
So something like that. We'll see.
He said just keep running it up too. Even if we're the top bidder, just keep running it up.
We're gonna bid against each other.
It all goes to charity. Is it a write-off?
There you go.
Don't spill my secrets.
Yeah. No, that'll be a cool night there. You got the sensory and support night with a wall flag giveaway and specialty jersey on February 15th. You got Princess Night, Nick's favorite, on February 28th.
I probably won't go to
Beat
that
you
one.
at this time.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. You got March 13th. You got the purple game, classic. I can't wait to see the jersey with that one. There's always a nice specialty jersey with that. Star Wars Night, March 14th, also a classic. March 28th, Top Gun Night with an Austin Watson Aviator bobblehead. That one looks kind of cool. It's got his missing teeth in it too. That's all that matters, right?
All the single ladies are going to be in line for that bobblehead.
Good
It's
Lord.
a nice looking bobblehead, to be honest. Like I'm looking.
It
at
actually
it
is a cool looking bobblehead. And that's the only 2 bobbleheads I see on the schedule this season, which seems kind of low for bobbleheads. But maybe I'm wrong there. Last one, though, is Fan Appreciation Night on April 11th. That's the last home game of the season. And then, obviously, every Friday night, $2 beer, $2 dogs. It's a long-going tradition that'll never go away. And then you got Winning Wednesdays coming back this year, except for December 31st. Wednesday game is not a Winning Wednesday. Make sure to put that out clearly there. That's probably because they sell a lot of tickets for that game, and it would be really hard to have that many carrying over to another Wednesday, honestly. It makes sense financially and logistically. It makes sense. So that's all the promos for this year. I didn't mention earlier that the military game obviously has a specialty jersey too. I did not mention that. Those are the only specialty jerseys this year, not 15 like the ECHL down there, Travis and Toledo. But some good ones, some classics that are always in the rotation, and a couple new ones this year. That'll be fun.
Looking forward to 2 of them.
Which ones?
Which 2?
The Red Kettle and the Old Time.
Yep. Okay, Nick, what about you? Which one are you looking forward to the most? Oh, you said it already, the Pistons
Yeah, I
one.
said the Pistons one. The other one would probably be the old time hockey one, just because I have a feeling it's going to be really based off of the Red Wings Centennial jersey. Oh, with the red and the cream. Yeah, whatever that looks like, because it hasn't been released yet, which is kind of odd.
It's in the briefcase.
It's in the briefcase that Sergey's got. Yeah, I think that's probably the 2 that I'm looking forward to. The other ones, obviously, like the military ones are always kind of cool. So interesting to kind of see what they look like. I'm mad we don't have the pictures yet. 2 years ago, we were able to hunt them down and find them, and this year we can't find them. So good job, Griffins Media people. Maybe we need to message our insider. And the other, the last year we got to see them beforehand, which was kind of cool. So yeah, whoops. So maybe, I like to see the pictures. I like to see the mock-ups of them before, obviously.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited for the old-time hockey one and the Red Kettle as well, though. Those are usually... The Red Kettle is always one of my favorites. I don't know... I mean, last year's was all right. It wasn't my favorite one they've done. The black and red one was still one of my favorites, even though they only wore that in warm-ups for that game. I don't understand, but those are the ones I'm most excited about. Travis, what do you have real quick before I ask the last question?
That Red Kettle one last year, way better in person than it was on TV. Like in person, somebody had the Gage Alexander one down here last year that they sold, and every time he wore it to a Walleye game, I was like, man, that's really sharp in person. I don't look like a candy cane.
That jersey was a lot better in person than the graphic. So that's why I always I want to see the pictures of them, but I really do want to see them in person, because even the year that we saw them early, I was like, some of these I'm questioning, but then when we saw them on ice, I was like, oh, that's actually really slick. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
which one of the promo nights outside of jerseys are you most excited about?
Who, me?
Yeah, you, vibes guy.
Obviously, Princess Night. It's the loudest, but I'm not going to be able to make it this year. So, the dog leash thing is kind of cool because I haven't seen that.
Which dog?
Yeah,
They've got a dog leash that they're giving away.
Which dog? Like for
I
your
mean,
pet dog? Or is it like
yeah.
a dog's face on it?
no, it doesn't have dog's face. That's a miss right there. Holy. No, it's got the Griffins logo on it, and it looks like the sponsor of that giveaway that night on there too. So
it's hard for us to be able to do the promos, like get the promos, because we don't have tickets. So for me, like I try not to amp myself up about it because we aren't really able to participate on that side.
Does suck, but
so that is the downside. So the vibes are kind of gone.
I mean, I definitely gonna have
Right?
to, butter someone up to get a Dom Shine bobblehead. I think that's definitely the one I'm most excited about. Honestly, I got to figure out a way to get one of those aftermarket pricing. That'd be great. So, if you're
Teddy bear
listening and don't
toss.
want yours, so I'll take it.
Yeah, there might be some nights we just go to fans just to get the giveaways. We might have to do that,
Honestly,
Brandon.
you'll probably go as a fan to the Pistons night. That's probably the night you'll go.
Probably.
Yep. Outside of that, though, they did also announce all their community events for this year as well. You've got the Tippogriff night, which is always a fun one that all, supports good causes there, going on December 1st. You got the Great Skate, which is another great event that I know we've already talked about spending some more time at this year as well on January 17th. The Sled Wings versus Griffins night, or game night at the Griff's Ice House is February 16th. And then they're bringing back their Griffins Winter Golf Classic, which they did at the indoor golf place downtown last year. They're doing that February 23rd. That's all the Griffins events for this upcoming season that have all been announced. Some fun stuff. Honestly, I like what they've done so far already, and I just can't wait to see what they do with the 30th year celebration as it goes on, because there's stuff that's going to come around that's not fully announced yet. So it's going to be a fun season. I'm ready. I'm ready for hockey to be back. Like, football's here, and I love football, and that's been great, but I need hockey.
We're close. I think Travers is next week.
Yep. It's getting closer. The red and white games around the corner. We still have a bunch more off-season stuff to get done for you guys too. A bunch more interviews coming your way. I know Travis continues to work his phone down there in Toledo. Obviously, you've seen a lot of Toledo interviews this year. He's significantly better at this job than Nick and myself are. So congrats to Travis there. But I know we've got a few more on deck for that. We hope you've enjoyed all the ones that we've given you guys so far this offseason. Let us know in the comments on the video here which one's your favorite. And again, always let us know who you want to see brought on the show. We will do our best, whether they played in Toledo, Grand Rapids, or they coached in Toledo or Grand Rapids. Doesn't matter. We'll try our best to get them on here. We never make promises, but at the same time, we'll do what we can. And we love bringing you guys interviews. And I know we've talked about doing interviews a lot more throughout the season as well, this upcoming season. So hopefully we can do that this year, which will be a lot of work, but a lot of fun, especially if our plan that we want to do works out, even at like half capacity.
Shoot
That'd
big,
be
right?
cool. Yeah, that will be cool if we can pull that off.
We're shooting really big. And yeah, like I said, I'll take half of what we're asking for. I'll take a quarter of what we're asking for, but we'll see what happens. So stay tuned for all those updates in the future. But with that, I think it's time to wrap this episode up, unless you guys have anything else last second to throw at me.
I don't think so.
Perfect. Good. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Hockeytown West podcast. Of course, we've got to thank our sponsors of the show, DraftKings and Everything Hockey Clothing Company. When you're betting with DraftKings, use code THPN. And when you're shopping at everythinghockey.com, make sure you use code WEST to save a few bucks off your order. And it also supports the show directly. We also have our Patreon set up as well. If you're not a supporter over there, head over and check it out. It's still free for a little bit longer. It's going to be free for the off season. We'll go back to the charge tiers there and make sure that's all ironed out. And we will tell everyone there before we start charging. You'll get a notification a couple days in advance to make sure if you want to continue with us for the season or not. We will make sure to tell you. So pay attention to the updates in there in case you do want to leave us for the season, but don't. We're going to have a lot of fun on there this season. It's going to be great. And thank you to everyone who's already jumped over there to support us. And those current subscribers are...
We've got D-Boss's D-Boss, John in Florida, Elaine Grace, Griffin, Lori, Alan, Tyler, Randy, Michael, Claire, Derek, Regan, and our newest Patreon is Chelsea. So thank you for the support over there. Keep going. If you can't support us on Patreon, like and subscribe to the episodes. That does help us as well. I do want to share, we just hit 500 on YouTube. So that was fantastic. So thank you all for the support. It helps us a lot on there as well.
Yes, thank you all for that. That was the milestone we've been chasing for a minute here. There's a lot of benefits to the show to hit that mark, so we were happy to finally crest that, and we can continue building off of that, hopefully here with, like we said, tons of in-season content that we want to bring you guys this year. It is going to be a fun season. The structure of the show will be revamped a little bit. We're going to bring kind of what you guys were looking more for listening to after games to you all this year. We've kind of taken the feedback and taken it seriously and kind of structured it the way you guys have been asking us to. So get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like we said, hopefully there's a boatload of interviews to the season 2. That'd be a lot of fun. But with that, everybody, thank you for tuning in to this episode. We appreciate you all. And as always, go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.